Welcome back to the KX Country Clubhouse. I'm Derek Mann from KX96, and joining us today, Tyler Joe Miller. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, good, man. Doing well. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Now, we haven't had you in the clubhouse in almost a year, kind of when this whole thing started. So what have you been up to since then?
That's a good question. Working a hell of a lot, actually. It's even right now, like on the job site. But yeah, work has actually been super busy through pandemic, and I am hoping to stop doing that so I can get out and actually play some music.
Right. Yeah, that would be awesome because, well, of course, your first EP just released the end of last year, and the first couple singles off that. Congratulations, by the way, both going #1.
Thank you.
So what was it like to release that first EP right in the middle of this pandemic?
Apparently, that's not the way that you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, apparently not.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. But yeah, it's been an interesting experience. Because it's like we put out the songs and they went really well, and you know, thankful that radio's taken a liking to the songs that we've been putting out. But yeah, it's a weird thing where you don't get to see like like I don't get to play shows yet. I haven't seen a crowd in front of me singing the songs, that sort of thing. So it almost feels fake in a way. Where it's sort of like Truman Show style, where it's like there's like, it feels like the industry is its own thing, but I haven't actually been able to actually be a part of it yet. So
right,
it's very interesting, but it's I mean, people seem to take a liking to it, so I'm stoked. I don't care when we put the music out, as long as people are liking it. So
for sure. So if it was a normal year time, what would have that release day or release week normally looked like for you, or what would you have hoped that it would be like?
I mean, I hear so many people, putting out one song and then they'll go on tour and that sort of thing. And so like, I assumed maybe that's what was going to be happening, or nobody even liked it. I didn't know what it was going to be like. But yeah, I don't even know what I imagined. It's just sort of at least playing some live shows, so you can test out the songs and stuff. But this one, we're just like, no, we're gonna just throw it at radio and see what happens. And so so it's a bit different than it's normally done apparently.
For sure. So is there a specific venue or place that you're looking forward to playing and being at when it's all safe and good to do so?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or you haven't thought that far ahead yet?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet. Yeah, I'm just even surprised that people will pay tickets to go to my shows. So
yeah, great feeling for sure. So I understand that Sometimes I Do, that music video is coming soon. What can you tell us about that?
It's kind of a breath of fresh air for me in a way, because my last song that we put out, Fighting, was just so deep. Content was so deep, and this one is kind of the opposite. It's, people have asked me what Sometimes I Do about, and I'm like, nothing really.
Yeah.
Like one of the lines is literally cooking chicken on a shovel, and that's because one of the writers knows a guy. He was at some cabin party or something like that. Some dude actually like was pissed drunk and just grabbed a shovel and cooked chicken on it over the fire. And so we're like, oh, let's just like add stupid things that we've seen or whatever or done. And so it's kind of funny how we sort of put things together. Like I didn't grow up in church, but I also like went to church for a good chunk amount of time, and was like, praying and flirting with a girl at the end of the pew. It's just like kind of pulling some things out of our lives. And
that's cool.
It's just kind of about, like getting into trouble, but not too much. And exactly, just enough trouble. Oh, that's a good line. Yeah, so the music video is just going to be, I think it's going to be that. It's going to be just having some fun, and just see what trouble we get into.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to ask why that song is called Sometimes I Do, but the EP is the full phrase, Sometimes I Don't, but Sometimes I Do. Why was that?
Because I'm a pain in the ass to my label.
To put it plain and simple.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
No, they wanted just Sometimes I Do, but there was something about that line, like sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. It just kind of, I think like my songs I've put out, like first one being Pillow Talking, pretty like deep, sad song. I'll Be Over Me Too, sad lyrics, but it's kind of a quirky
Yeah.
take on it. And so that one's, like a little bit, not as sad and dark or whatever. And then Fighting went full tilt the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we went full tilt the other way to do Sometimes I Do. And so I think it kind of, that EP is sort of the same way, where it's kind of going back and forth between like sad song, happy song, sad song. And I think I get that probably because my influence is Brad Paisley, and he, he's one of my biggest influencers, and he does that. He's both sides of the spectrum. And I think it gives a good idea of what the EP is about. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's not exactly, talking about anything particular, but it's just, I don't know. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. And it just kind of makes sense for some reason for me. But I was like, I want the whole thing. And they're like,
Yeah,
that's
man.
that's way too long. It's like, whatever. I don't care. Let's
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, you mentioned Brad Paisley being an influence. So I wanted to ask, as since he's such a big influence, is there someone specific, if you could collaborate with, who would that person be?
In the States, Brad Paisley, 100%.
All right. Yeah.
In Canada,
Yeah.
my boy Jade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be a good song. That would be a good song. Like, yeah, for sure.
He's a good buddy of mine. So we write quite a bit over Zoom and stuff right now. So
sweet.
We're cooking up something good. So we'll see.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's good to hear then. I also wanted to touch on this really cool fact that I learned about you, that when you're not actually doing music, you're building homes down in Guatemala. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually the reason why I started doing music. And
okay.
So I've got a nonprofit, and it's called the Climate Outreach, and we sponsor 2 villages down in Guatemala through an organization called Hope of Life down there. And those guys are just unbelievable. They're 365, 24 hours a day, just always helping people, doing great things. And so we get to partner alongside of them. And we got 2 villages that we sponsor. And we, for now, we're going to move on to some other ones. But whole point is to figure out what their needs are. And we try to meet them. We try to help them. And we try to help them help themselves. Because we're not just some band-aid that's going to come in and just fix things. We know that's just not the way to do things. And so, so we'll go down and, number one is water supply, get clean water, to every home, or at least a public one for the community.
For sure.
And get kids on child sponsorships, which actually helps the whole family, not just the kid. And then also school scholarships. And that's like our first thing that we wanted kids to get to school, because after grade 6 they got to start paying for it, and most kids don't even make it to that down there because they're out working in the fields and stuff like that. So we just want to give them a chance. And then we also do one of our main things is building projects. So we'll build houses, schools, community centers, sort of things, churches, like whatever they need. And I mean, their churches are also their community centers, so they'll use it for multiple things. And we just want to get roof over people's heads and keep kids safe and stuff like that. And then we do they're called baby rescues, but it's basically kids that are malnourished, like way up out in the mountains, that have zero access to any medical help. We'll drive out as far as we can, hike into the mountains, get the kids, and normally the mom will come back with us. Sometimes they just say we can't take care of them anymore, which is sad, and then they'll end up in orphanage, but it's more of like foster care, not exactly orphanage. And but then we'll bring them back, and we'll pump the kids with antibiotics, because a lot of them just have like a ton of parasites and stuff like that. Pump them with antibiotics, kill the parasites, and then just pump them with nutrition. And then our nurses will teach like the mom and dad how to like properly take care of the kid and proper nutritional value. That we send them home with food, and then we'll make sure that they get checked in on all the time, and get the kid back to health, send him back home. And it's a crazy and also super emotional thing.
For sure.
You know,
that's really awesome.
One of the rescues, a kid was like 2 weeks old and had a cleft palate, and so it couldn't breastfeed, and it was just super dehydrated, super malnourished at 2 weeks. And I remember holding it, and it was like literally felt like nothing, and super sad. But then you get to see within a week that baby can be looking exactly how it's supposed to. Like, it's crazy how fast the body can change in that way. But yeah, and it's just things that, like, you know, that's an area that a lot of people don't know how they could help, or that is even a need. You know. And so
for sure.
But yeah, Guatemala is the most malnourished country in the Western Hemisphere, I believe.
Wow.
And so yeah, just doing our little part and just kind of helping them help themselves.
How long have you been doing that for?
About 5 years now.
Okay, cool. And so you mentioned music actually stemmed from that. How did that come?
I always bring my guitar down with me, and there was one night that I was playing my guitar and just singing some songs that I'd written, and I wasn't exactly doing country music yet, but I grew up on it. And so but I've always just written, and it just kind of comes out country. And I was playing my guitar, and some guy in the morning was like, he's from our team, his name is Willie, and he's like, hey man, you was that you playing your guitar last night? I was like, oh shoot, like was I too loud? And
Oh,
like,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
He goes, no, you're playing country music. I was like, oh yeah, like I enjoy country music and grew up on it. And he's like, well, I didn't know that you're doing country music. I was like, oh, I'm not, like, at all.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just a carpenter and painter, and I was like, I'm just busy running my business, doing contracting, and then trying to do this nonprofit stuff, and I'm just happy helping people. Like, don't need to, you know, try to be some musician. And he was like, well, what if you like got into country music, and you built a platform for yourself to where you can actually influence, you know, more people, and people not only want to hear what you have to sing, but what you have to say, and you can use that to, you know, expand your influence in such a greater way, and you can influence way more people to help and show them how to help. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, damn, I can't say no to that. And so I just put my name out there to play for some other people, and I started playing the festival circuits and playing for other artists, and I was just like the backup guitar guy and backup singer. And then things just, you know, one thing led to another, and my label ended up seeing a video of me playing with a friend of mine, and they're like, hey, who the hell is this guy? And met up with Mitch Merritt, one of my managers from my label MDM, and yeah, we ended up just they ended up offering me a record deal, and
that's awesome.
Now we're here.
Yeah, that's such a cool story. Well, thank you for taking the time to hang out here in the Clubhouse again today, and hopefully we can see a live show soon. See you in person soon as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. Happy to do it anytime.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, man.